Hi everyone, this is Diseases and Epidemiology by me, Sophia Jiang, for One Word Anchor. Today we're covering Lesson 6, using counts and rates. This will be a shorter lesson, but this is some really important information for epidemiology. So, counting cases. So if you remember from our previous lesson, one of the basic tasks in public health is counting cases. So counts are usually derived from case reports submitted by healthcare workers and laboratories to the health department. So these cases allow public health officials to determine the extent and pattern of disease occurrence by time, place, and person, which may indicate clusters or outbreak of disease in the community. So very important. And also these cases and counts allow them to plan how many infection control isolation units or doses of vaccine that might be needed. And next is rates. So counts alone are very useful. As I mentioned in the previous slide, you know, how many ICU beds, how many vaccines, but rates are more important, most definitely more important. So the rate is the number of cases divided by the size of the population per unit of time. So why do I say that it's really important? Why do epidemiologists use rates? So the answer is that simple counts do not provide all of the information a health department needs. For some purposes, the counts must be put into context based on the population in which they arose. And it's particularly useful for comparing the frequency of disease in different locations and in different times where populations might differ in size. So let's take a look at birth rate in different states, for example. So birth rate in 2003. So here are our counts, and this is our population. Ignore this column for a moment. But if we take a look at Pennsylvania and Delaware, Pennsylvania has a higher number of counts, a higher number of births than Delaware does. But if we take the rate, then we put it in context of the population. So we're going to do birth number divided by population, and then we're going to get a birth rate. So this birth rate is adjusted to per 1,000 population. So this is per 1,000 people, what is the number? So that would be our rate. So we see then Pennsylvania has a birth rate of 11.4, and Delaware has a birth rate of 13.8 per 1,000 people. So even though the birth number is higher in Pennsylvania, the birth rate is actually higher in Delaware. And now let's take a look at chickenpox cases in 1991 to 2001. So chickenpox has decreased, the number of cases has decreased as time went on, but we also have to note that the population also increased relatively 60% from 1991 to 2001. So when we look at the rate, we see an even higher decrease in the prevalence of chickenpox. Now, identifying rates. So rates of disease among different subgroups can be compared to identify those at increased risk of disease. So these are people who are more likely to get a disease whose rates are higher. So these high risk groups can be further assessed and targeted for special intervention, and they can also be studied to identify risk factors that cause them to have that increased risk of disease. And yeah, that is all. Counts and rates. Remember, two very important things in epidemiology. All right, so that brings us to the end of our lesson. It was pretty short, mini lesson, but don't forget to subscribe to One Word Anchor so we can continue making videos just like this. And I'll see you next time. Bye.